Just for the guys in the room, if you could check into the session, use the QR code for us, please, guys, and then we'll get going shortly.
Yeah. Which is teams of us. The men, you need like 5 men, and they need to weigh very specific amount. Whereas we have so I think we have. Yeah, like oh wait, no, we did like we're just like this. Yeah, what is the goal competition? Let's try everybody saying. No, at least but first thing is oh yeah, oh, there's about 45. So roughly, they weigh who improvise cheap because they don't really have much. Oh yeah, but they do varsity, whereas people can't have varsity. There's so much. Yeah, varsity. Yeah. It's the second. Yeah. The orange below it. You're not going to take it. This is where you need to invite yeah, people design because it's not. Yeah. They lost 2 fights. Whereas if you're obviously 5, then it's fine. Which one? I guess I don't want to say that. And that's yeah, I think he will also do people make you want like last year because we started with the piece yeah, because they all came in and checked them at the start. So we had 300 people sent on set with this.
I'm spending most of the time in the day going to contact with them, trying to control and then they call us up to it's an absolute in that before. I said to Captain Rock for about 10 minutes, coming out for trip. Guys that have just come in, can you just please log your attendance using the QR code, please?
If you have come in, there are some packs at the back with your club name on it, so grab them if you can. If there is no pack for you, you don't have any.
Let's talk about how we can track. I think there's a trade. Trustees can get some really
Right, guys, we'll make a start. So hopefully you guys agree now are for those who compete in events. So these are like your events to take one or twice, 2 times a year, like athletics, swimming, and more obscure ones like archery, other things like that. If you compete in standard league weekly fixtures, then this session is not for you. Okay. So what we're going to go through is BUCS play, how to sign up and get all your students on board, how you enter a team or an individual, and then away trip forms. So a bit about me. So I'm Mark. I am the sport development officer, but I am primarily the BUCS institution administrator for Bangor. So what I do is I manage all you guys' entries into single and individual events and team events. I'll solve any protests or queries that you might have. And before or after the events, give feedback to BUCS about events as well, if needs be. And most of all, they act as an intermediary between Bangor and other institutions. So my weekly communications you guys will get specifically is every Tuesday there's an event entry email I get from BUCS. So this details like these 5 new events are open this week, entry closes in 5 weeks, for example. I'll forward that on to any relevant clubs. There's no point me doing it every week because for 99% of the weeks you guys won't be relevant. But keep an eye out for those emails. You can always track your own events online on the BUCS website and Playways. Most of them, if you compete in the nationals, that tends to be February, and then if you compete in like a big summer one, that tends to be sort of later on. So you have a rough idea of where they've been. But if you want exact dates and locations, go on the BUCS website because you'll know about it before me. Important to know that if you're signing up, your student deadline is basically midnight of the Tuesday I then have 2 days after that to either approve, reject your entries, and then you should get an email either Friday or the week after saying you've been entered into the event. So most of you guys hopefully aren't brand new to BUCS Play, so you should all have an account on Playways, but if you don't, it's dead simple to sign up for like any social media account. Please use your institutional email, so your bank email address, and then enter all sort of like your core state information, so that's really key to BUCS tracking data. And then search for your community. So whatever community and sport you take part in, search at the top, and then you'll be able to join that community. And then you can search for your events. So I use golf as an example because they have their events really early on. The Autumn Trophy was yesterday, for example. So once you've done that, you'll be able to find all your events. So this list isn't exhaustive. It's just the ones that have been confirmed. But if you're a member of that, you can always set up email notifications as well. So when a new event's added, you'll know about it. So onto the entries. So BUCS events works differently for those guys who have teams in leagues and knockouts, and there's also always a limit on the number of participants. This could be down to an event capacity. For example, Rome Regatta might have space for 80 boats. The way BUCS do this then is quite fair. So we'll give everyone either a set guaranteed number of entries. So for example, 100 meters might have 1 or 2 people guaranteed per institution. So say you get 5 people signed up for that, the first 2 are guaranteed to be in there, and then the next lot will fall into the non-guaranteed. So this is where I've accepted your guys' entries, but you may not guarantee a spot. So for quite a lot of the events, they don't tend to have a guaranteed number. It's more just into this non-guaranteed. It's pretty likely we'll be able to have 1 or 2, but if you have 10, that's when you have to give me a ranking list, and then essentially those at the bottom probably aren't as likely to get in, but you never know. And then rejected. So unfortunately, you don't meet the requirements. With a lot of events, you guys have to be at a certain standard to compete. So I'll use athletics 100 meters example again. You have to be able to qualify at a certain time and have proof of that certain time. So when you sign up, it'll ask for like a link to power attempt. And then in some events, you can also have reserved a list. So if someone pulls out late, injured or whatever, you can have reserves on here who also meet the criteria, or just sort of back up in case the first choice options whatever can't make the event. So if I was to sign up for an event as an individual, so you'll go onto that original sport community screen. So I've chosen golf again. And then here you'll be able to click onto the event. Please note that there is a cost. We'll talk more about the costs later on. But you guys have to be mindful of that because you might have to pay some, not all of that. And then it's quite simple. So click who you're from, Bangor, and then go all the way through it. You will, like I said again, have to be able to meet certain entry requirements, like a handicap, for example, in golf, and you would have to prove this. It will automatically either approve or reject your application based on those requirements. As a team, this is a little bit more difficult and involves a bit more work. So essentially, you'll have to email me earlier on because I'm the only person who can add teams into events. So the Cross Sixers, for example, these guys have decided they want to do it this year, a men's and females team. They got into contact with me about 2 months ago asking, can we do it? I said yes. I had to submit these before the deadline. I've sort of going to the back of books. You guys can't do this. It's the same with relay teams for swimming athletics. If you guys want like a 4x1 individual medley relay team, for example, you have to email me saying how many you want, and then I have to submit them, and then you can add them on to a team like normal. So if you have got team-based ones, you'll have to search for your team. So go to the community again, and above events will be teams. So again, we'll use athletics 4x100. Bangor have got a team. For men, search Bangor at the top, and that will come up 4x100 men. You'll then have to join a team, which is pretty simple. And then you'll go into this applied section, and then the team captain will be able to approve that or decline that. And then, yeah, join the team is then exact same. You just have to click through it. It's the same sort of questionnaire, and again, there will be the same standards for those if you're competing in certain events. Once you've done and you've been added to the team, you will always receive an email notification. So if you've got people asking, am I on the team, ask them to check their emails, because it's really a sure way to prove you're on the team or not. And then, yeah, a little bit about the roles and responsibilities, which isn't too relevant for you guys unless you have got teams. So most of the time, you guys will be the team captains. If you don't want to be team captain, please let me know. I'll give that power to someone else. But it's easier for you guys, especially if you're club captains, to have that because you can control who's going to be in what event. And then everyone else is a member. But everyone who competes must be signed up on BUCS Play as well. As the captains, you guys are able to organise a squad and submit the team sheets. So it's ideally as yourselves. Some of this information is quite relevant to you guys, but there can be multiple captains on the team. So, for example, in a 4x1 team, if you want all 4 people to have captains access, that is fine, although it's probably not necessary. And then, yeah, also a little bit about squad selection. So, say for the 4x100, you've had 6 people apply for the team. You have to put the first 4 people in, and you'll do that by highlighting their names with the checkbox left, and then clicking that left arrow and putting them into squad. And that will automatically say, if you've ever got more applicants than needed, choose the first 4, and then, for example, if you've got the 6, the other 2 can go on reserve list. That's no problem. To do this on the app, so I'd recommend to always use the browser, desktop website, but the app is quite useful for some situations, like checking fixtures. It's not great for some of the admin. But to do this, working from the start, so the home screen on the left-hand side, you'll search for your community again. Once you've found a community, search Bangor, and that's where your team is. You can click join, and it'll look like the screenshot on the right side. Talking about the away trip forms, so some of you guys might get these, some of you won't. So if you're competing on like weekend events and I've organised your guys' travel, you'll have on these forms to pick out from Brailsford. So behind Brailsford reception, and this is the main form you'll get. So I'll have completed all the information on the left-hand side to do with like your fixture information, so where you're traveling to, what time you're leaving, and a bit more about like what bus you've got, for example. And the blue box on the right side, you guys will complete all the participants, so who's on board the bus. Please make sure their emergency contact is not someone else on the bus, make sure it's someone else at home. And then in the red box is your first aiders. So you guys should always have 2 first aiders with you for wherever you go. So if the first aider gets injured, someone else can do the first aid on the first aider. And then if you've had an SU minibus, which you guys might do for wave events, especially weekend events, complete that green box detailing basically who the driver is. And then once you're happy, fill out, sign the black form, and then hand it into reception at Brailsford. They'll then print a copy for our records, and you can take the other copy with you. So what's expected for you on a away trip? Essentially, make sure your players get on the correct bus at the correct time, especially if you're traveling on Wednesday. Most of you guys probably won't, because you'll be doing it separately or driving yourselves around, but make sure people are at the correct place at the correct time, and complete all the relevant forms if needed. And when you're away on an away trip or at nationals, you are expected to represent Bangor, so just be decent human beings. The big thing to know is alcohol is illegal on away bus travel, so any consumption of that is illegal and breaking the law. And there's also no tolerance to inappropriate behaviour, but especially for those big national events, make sure you do enjoy it, but I dare say they go far too quickly. So we'll talk a little bit about the finances, which come into effect a bit more for you guys than leading knockout teams.
So guys, how this basically works is for your fixtures, take the cross sixes, for example. The AU this year has agreed that we will pay for entry costs for that. When it comes to individual entries, so like swimming and stuff like that, you will be informed that there's a set number that you'll be allowed to enter for that event. When it comes down to travel, for this, what we've agreed this year, and one of the things Lewis has mentioned, is that the AU will contribute towards travel up to a cost of 60p per mile for that round trip. That is 60p per mile for one vehicle. So don't think you can suddenly rent a really fancy bus because you normally take 8 cars. It is 60p per mile for one vehicle, round trip, whatever that comes to, that's the total cost we will contribute towards it. The remaining cost will then be covered basically by the club. So example there for you, Nationals in Sheffield, total mine is 274.2. We would cover up to 164.72 for the transport. If you do want to book external transport, you do need to contact Mark, not myself, just for clarification on that, at least 2 weeks prior to the event. Entry fees, like I said, we will cover those. There will be a maximum number. So was that last year's one? The 36.
I think it's 36.
Yeah. So what we tend to do is we will look at what we've had in previous years. We'll also look at if you've done any competitions to date. We'll look at sort of your results from that to sort of make an informed decision. If you're in doubt at any point, you can drop me or Mark an email. We do talk. So yeah, if it comes to one of us, it's meant for the other, we will pass it on. But yeah, if you're in doubt at any point, message us. General rule of thumb I would say is that if you're coming up to any of these sort of events, it's just email us 2 weeks before at least, just to get clarification, so you haven't got any sort of doubts in the back of your mind what the club's got to cover, what you've got to cover, so on and so forth. If you are using SU minibuses, obviously you do need to make sure you've got someone who's got their Midas. You can speak to Alison in the student centre, she's actually in today, about getting that sorted. I think next one's on the 8th of October is the practical assessment, but you do have to have all your theory done before then. And then again, if you are going to be using our buses, you also need to make sure you're letting Mark know, so that Mark's not sat there going, should be organising the bus for you guys. So if you don't let Mark know, he's going to assume that you've probably got it sorted. And then when you turn up to get on the external booked bus with Clear and Trevor, there's no bus there. Long and short of it is it's come down to your communication with us. Yes.
What's the requirements to drive the
21 and driving for 3 years.
Right.
So yeah, if you've got anyone that needs that, you can have multiple on the teams. I don't think off the top of my head, don't quote me on this, there is no charge to it as far as I'm aware. Alison will obviously clarify that for you, but it is something that's quite useful to have. And last year, it's a question you can ask Lewis. He hasn't really given us the green light on it yet. Obviously, last year what we did was for groups that were utilising fit themselves, but groups that were utilising SU minibuses over external transport, we were giving £100 incentive into your grant account for the year. And some groups, darts was a prime example of it. Owen, I think he made quite a bit of money for darts last year, because what we decided to do is, if Owen, for example, for darts was driving for cricket, they were splitting that £100, £50 between the two clubs. So there's also that incentive that you guys can help. So we can get clarification on that once Lewis is back from COVID. And yeah, if you do want to sort of take that up, just drop me a message. I can get clarification on that.
One thing I would say though, guys, is that if you tend to have like a weekend event or plan on staying overnight, I won't arrange transport for that, because if you do want to stay overnight with the bus driver, you guys would have to pay for the bus driver to stay in a hotel. So it's quite costly. If you are looking at staying overnight, I would go with the Midas and get yourself a minibus. If a student, another student has to drive, you guys, that would just be far too costly.
Just obviously one thing that is missing off that, guys, is your accommodation. So if you have got an overnight one, as rule of thumb, we don't, as the AU, cover your accommodation. I think we have done in exceptional circumstances, depending on what the events are, various criteria that you can ask us, but the general funds that you guys, as the club or individual,
If we've got an event in Bristol, would we need more than one driver?
I think there is a mileage limit on what you can drive in one day or within a set time frame. And if you speak to Alison, students, she'll give you that information. Yeah.
The travel cost, is that just the mileage to the event, or is it to and for?
So yeah, BUCS affiliation. So BUCS tends to require that all clubs who want to compete in any event has to affiliate with their national governing body, and there are usually 3 different types that they may ask you to do, if not multiple of. So first one is club affiliation. So sometimes you'll have to be affiliated to the NGB. So say cricket, have to be affiliated in cricket board, and that's fine. That's pretty standard. If you are, and you have to be affiliated to that team, that NGB, sorry, then you have to we'll know, you guys will pay for it, and then they tend to reimburse. But if it's not a requirement, but you guys want to do it, then you guys might have to pay for it. There's also individual membership. So this is probably where more like swimming and athletics. I think you guys have to individually be a member. Same for the combat sports, you have to be an individual. It protects insurance stuff. So to compete in that discipline, you will have to put you take an athletics number or something like that to prove you're a member. You may also have to be asked to put a ranking list. This is quite common again in those events where you've got loads of people entering. You'll have to give me your number 1 seed, number 2 seed, number 3, and so on. Other sports may need other things. Obviously, like basketball and cross, you guys need to submit qualified officials. BUCS also have really, really strict deadlines on this. If you have questions, please email yourself or check that link at the bottom. Essentially, if you miss the deadline, it tends to be like £250 fine. So they are pretty harsh, and it's just black and white, unfortunately. I have sent out all the information to relevant club captains, so you should have had it. But if you do have questions, speak to someone either afterwards or email. So then finally, Brailsford operating procedure. So most of you guys probably train at either Brailsford, Treble, or normal site. So if you do, we just ask for a couple of things in turn. So equipment, please make sure your equipment is labelled correctly with your club's name, and throw out any old equipment, especially in that AU cupboard under the stairs. There's loads of stuff in there, probably most of it's out of date. Or needs chucking, so please let us know and keep it tidy. When you are setting up stuff, make sure you do it correctly. If you're unsure, the staff, especially up at Brailsford, will always show you and be able to help you, so no worries there. Storage, please make sure all your equipment is stored neatly and out of the way of fire exits. You guys down in normal site, I know it's quite a big fire door down there, so just make sure you're putting all your stuff away after sessions neatly. If you are needing to sign in and out of keys, sign keys in and out, sorry, then make sure you do follow the correct procedure for browser. There's usually signing sheets, so no reception. Timing, so your sessions either start at 10 past or 20 to the hour, depending on where you are. So if you're in ball 1 at 4 o'clock, your session doesn't actually start at 10 past 4, so that gives either ourselves as staff or you guys 10 minutes to set the session up. So make sure all the members know not to barge until at 4 o'clock, no matter who's still in there. Also, when your training session finishes, please make sure you leave on time because you'd want to start on time, so some of the other guys afterwards too as well. If you do need any extra training or change of facility requests, they must all come from the AU, not myself or Rihanna. So Will or Lewis will pick that up and then forward it on to us. It's a little bit of a backward process, but those are just the channels that we use. If you do use the 3 sites as training hubs, hopefully you would have had a brief induction from one of our staff members last week at Serendipity, or they would call you in the first session. If not, I'm sure they'll catch you soon. Essentially, just need to sign a little form and just go through these things in a little bit more detail. So any questions, that's my email address and my phone number at the top. We've got browser reception at the bottom.
Any questions, guys? From John?
Got someone else in charge of my competitions. I mean, do I have to make them happen from the BUCS website?
If you pass that information on to me, I can make the captain, so that's fine.
Any other questions, guys, or we answered everything I need to know? As Mark said, if you've got any doubts or anything, you can either drop Mark or me an email. When it comes to extra session, predominantly probably send them my way, just something that'd be easier. But yeah, if there's any questions after today's session, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We can always forward it on to these to go for the other. Okay, guys.
There's some useful links. So in the packs, hopefully you would have picked up. You'll have had a copy of your own sport-specific regulations. You'll also have a team sheet and plan a protest form, if needs be. And then at the top, there are the general rules and regs as well.